All right, folks, welcome back to the channel. It's Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and I need to give you a comprehensive breakdown of what the rest of this winter is going to look like across the United States. February is shaping up to be absolutely historic, and I want to walk you through everything that's coming because the pattern we're locked into is delivering one of the most memorable winters in recent American history. Let me put this into perspective by comparing what we're experiencing to the legendary winter of 2013-2014. That winter became the benchmark for brutal cold and relentless snow. The polar vortex repeatedly collapsed, sending surge after surge of Arctic air deep into the south. The blizzard of 2013 in February dropped 36 inches on parts of Connecticut, 40 inches in Hamden, and nearly 25 inches on Boston, with hurricane-force wind gusts exceeding 80 mph. Atlanta's infamous Snowmageddon in January 2014 paralyzed the entire metro with just 2.6 inches because temperatures were so cold that absolutely nothing melted and the city ground to a complete halt. What we're witnessing right now matches or exceeds that legendary winter in intensity. The polar vortex has been thoroughly disrupted and fragmented, sending lobe after lobe of Arctic air plunging into the lower 48. Every piece of energy that drops out of Canada finds abundant cold air waiting for it. The jet stream remains locked in a highly amplified pattern with persistent troughing over the eastern United States and stubborn ridging over the west. This configuration has produced storm after storm after storm while temperatures refuse to moderate. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. Just this past weekend, the Carolinas experienced their most significant snowstorm in decades. Totals exceeding 12 to 18 inches were reported across portions of North Carolina. Over 1,700 snowfall reports came in within 24 hours. Blizzard conditions developed along the Outer Banks with winds exceeding 60 mph. Over 750 car accidents occurred in North Carolina alone during the event. This was a historic storm that will be remembered for generations in a region that sometimes goes entire winters without seeing accumulating snow. And winter is far from finished. Looking at the satellite imagery right now, the snowpack stretches from Maine and eastern Canada all the way down into the Piedmont of the Carolinas. Snow remains on the ground in the Delta region of Mississippi, Arkansas, and Tennessee from storms that hit weeks ago. The cold has been so persistent that nothing melts. Each new storm simply adds to the existing accumulation, creating compounding impacts for communities already exhausted from shoveling. Now let me tell you what's happening today and what's coming over the next several days because we have multiple systems to track and significant weather unfolding right now. Today, Wednesday, February 4th, a storm system is pushing through Virginia and reaching the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. This system originated in the Ohio Valley on Tuesday, dropped accumulating snow across Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia, and is now working into the mid-Atlantic. Pittsburgh saw snow this morning. Washington, D.C. and Baltimore are dealing with accumulating snow as I speak. Richmond and the Tidewater region are also in the impact zone. For Washington, D.C. specifically, accumulations of around an inch are expected, possibly slightly higher in favored locations. I know an inch doesn't sound like much, but this region handles winter weather about as well as a cat handles water. The Beltway becomes a parking lot when flakes start falling. Metro delays cascade through the system. Federal offices consider early dismissal. Baltimore faces similar accumulations and similar chaos. Richmond is looking at 1 to 2 inches from this system. Norfolk and Virginia Beach could see similar amounts. The Tidewater region that just experienced historic snowfall this past weekend is getting another coating on top of what hasn't melted. Elizabeth City and the northeastern North Carolina border region fall within this impact zone. The Piedmont of North Carolina, including Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and Charlotte, could see snow showers today and tonight as cold air catches up to the departing system. Accumulations will be light, maybe a coating to an inch in favored spots, but it's something to monitor. Charlotte could see flakes flying by late afternoon before conditions clear overnight. But here's what demands your attention. A major winter storm is developing for Friday that's going to dive out of Canada with significant cold air support. This system has the potential to bring accumulating snow all the way down to the Carolinas. Let me break this down region by region because this is a substantial system that's going to impact millions of people. The Friday storm originates in the Hudson Bay region of Canada and represents a stout piece of the polar vortex diving south. This is more than a typical clipper. It has multiple components with a leading wave followed by a main wave driven by a powerful jet streak. That combination of energy produces significant snow potential across a wide area. Wisconsin feels the impacts first Thursday night into Friday morning. Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Appleton, and La Crosse all need to prepare. Accumulations of 4 to 7 inches are possible across southern Wisconsin, with higher amounts in lake-enhanced zones near the Lake Michigan shoreline. The Friday morning commute is going to be treacherous across the entire state. Michigan gets hammered Friday morning and afternoon as the storm slides eastward. Detroit is looking at 4 to 6 inches. Grand Rapids could see 5 to 8 inches when you factor in Lake Michigan enhancement. Lansing, Flint, Ann Arbor, and Kalamazoo are all in the 4 to 7 inch range. The Upper Peninsula gets buried with potentially double-digit totals in some locations. Indiana catches this system Friday afternoon. Indianapolis is looking at 3 to 5 inches. Fort Wayne could see 4 to 6 inches given its northern location. South Bend sees lake enhancement push totals toward 5 to 8 inches. The Friday evening commute across Indiana is going to be significantly impacted. Ohio is squarely in the path of this Friday storm. Columbus is looking at 4 to 6 inches. Cleveland could see 5 to 8 inches with Lake Erie enhancement adding to totals. Cincinnati, on the southern edge, is looking at 2 to 4 inches. Toledo faces 5 to 7 inches. The entire I-70, I-71, and I-75 corridors are going to be challenging Friday afternoon through Saturday morning. Pennsylvania faces significant impacts. Pittsburgh is looking at 5 to 7 inches. Philadelphia could see 3 to 5 inches. State College and the interior could see 6 to 9 inches. Harrisburg and the Susquehanna Valley are in the 4 to 6 inch range. Scranton and the Poconos could approach 8 inches in favored locations. The Northeast sees this storm Friday afternoon and evening. New York City is looking at 3 to 5 inches with slightly higher amounts on Long Island and in the northern suburbs. Boston could see 4 to 6 inches. Hartford and Providence are in similar ranges. Albany and the interior could see 6 to 9 inches. The Friday evening commute across the entire I-95 corridor from Philadelphia to Boston is going to be severely impacted. Now here's the critical information for my viewers in the Southeast. This Friday storm has the potential to bring significant snow considerably further south than a typical clipper system. The track and cold air support favor accumulating snow reaching into the Carolinas. Virginia is firmly in the impact zone. Richmond could see 3 to 5 inches. Norfolk and the Tidewater region are looking at 2 to 4 inches. Northern Virginia and the D.C. suburbs could see 4 to 6 inches as the storm tracks through. The Shenandoah Valley is looking at 5 to 8 inches with higher amounts in the mountains. West Virginia faces significant accumulation. Charleston could see 5 to 7 inches. Morgantown is looking at 6 to 9 inches. The mountainous terrain enhances snowfall through orographic lift, and some ridges could see 10 inches or more. The mountains of North Carolina are going to see heavy snow. Asheville is looking at 5 to 8 inches. Boone and the high country could see 8 to 12 inches. Banner Elk and the ski areas are looking at potentially a foot of fresh powder. The Piedmont of North Carolina is where this gets really interesting for a region that just experienced historic snow. Charlotte could see 3 to 5 inches from this Friday system. Raleigh and Durham are looking at 3 to 5 inches as well. Greensboro and Winston-Salem are in similar ranges. These areas have snow on the ground that hasn't melted. Another significant accumulation creates compounding problems for travel, infrastructure, and daily life. South Carolina isn't escaping this one either. Greenville and Spartanburg in the upstate could see 2 to 4 inches. Columbia is looking at 1 to 3 inches. Even Charleston on the coast could see flurries or a light coating depending on exact track. For the weekend forecast, Saturday sees the main storm system exiting the northeast with lingering snow showers and significant lake effect snow developing. Lake effect bands downwind of the Great Lakes will be prolific Saturday into Sunday. Buffalo could see an additional 8 to 14 inches from lake effect alone. Syracuse and the Tug Hill Plateau are looking at 10 to 18 inches of lake effect accumulation. Watertown could approach 2 feet. Cleveland's snowbelt gets hammered with 6 to 10 inches of lake effect. Sunday brings a brief respite for most areas as high pressure builds in behind the departing storm. Skies clear, temperatures remain cold, and the fresh snowpack glistens under sunny skies. But don't get too comfortable because another clipper is already loading up in Canada for early next week. Looking at the broader February outlook, this pattern persists through at least mid-month. The Arctic Oscillation remains firmly negative, meaning cold air continues pouring into the eastern United States. The North Atlantic Oscillation is also negative, creating blocking that maintains the cold pattern and keeps storms suppressed toward the southern tier. Temperature departures through mid-February show the eastern half of the nation running 15 to 25 degrees below normal at times. Florida continues experiencing freeze warnings that have farmers scrambling to protect crops. The Gulf Coast shivers through conditions more appropriate for Minnesota than Mississippi. Meanwhile, the West Coast enjoys above normal temperatures under persistent ridging, creating a stark contrast across the nation. Around 10 to 14 days from now, I'm seeing the first signals of potential pattern change. Ridging may finally build into the eastern United States while troughing develops out west. This flip creates the classic setup for a major storm system. A Colorado low could develop and track northeast, bringing significant impacts including potential severe weather in the warm sector and heavy snow on the cold side. This is also when the first taste of spring air might briefly penetrate the east before the next cold reinforcement arrives. Let me give you comprehensive city predictions for the rest of February based on this pattern. Chicago faces relentless cold and repeated clipper systems. Temperatures stay 10 to 20 degrees below normal through mid-February. Another 10 to 18 inches of snow accumulation is expected over the next 2 weeks. Wind chills frequently drop below zero. Detroit is in the heart of the clipper track with lake enhancement adding to totals. Another 12 to 20 inches is possible through mid-February. The cold intensifies around February 7th before any moderation. Indianapolis deals with multiple systems tracking through. Another 8 to 14 inches is expected over the next 2 weeks with temperatures persistently below average. Columbus and Cincinnati face repeated snow chances. Columbus could see 10 to 16 inches additional. Cincinnati is looking at 6 to 10 inches with its southern location providing slightly lower totals. Pittsburgh sits squarely in the favored zone for these systems. Another 12 to 18 inches is possible through mid-February. Philadelphia and New York City face multiple minor systems plus the Friday storm. Another 8 to 12 inches each through mid-February, with temperatures struggling to reach freezing most days. Boston could see 10 to 15 inches additional as storms track through New England and cold air remains locked in. Washington, D.C. and Baltimore deal with the Wednesday system today plus the Friday storm. Another 6 to 10 inches through mid-February creates continued headaches for a region that struggles with winter. Charlotte and Raleigh, already dealing with historic snow, could see an additional 4 to 8 inches through mid-February from Friday's storm and potential subsequent systems. Atlanta remains on the fringe, but faces continued cold with possible flurries or light accumulation if any storms track favorably to the west. The February pattern also shows something I'm watching closely for late in the month. Around February 15th to 21st, signals emerge for potential severe weather across the South as the pattern finally begins shifting. San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston, Shreveport, and the Gulf Coast corridor need to start transitioning their thinking from winter weather to spring storm preparedness. This winter will be remembered alongside 2013-2014 as one of the most impactful in modern American history. The persistence of cold, the frequency of storms, and the geographic extent of impacts have been extraordinary. February 2026 is writing chapters that will be discussed by meteorologists and remembered by residents for decades to come. Stay warm, stay safe, and stay prepared. Keep shovels and ice melt ready because you're going to need them repeatedly. Check on elderly neighbors and vulnerable community members. This historic winter still has significant events to deliver before spring finally arrives. I'll be tracking every system and bringing you updates as conditions evolve.